Oh my god.
The man returns to town only to discover a horrifying scene. Rotting corpses fill the streets and cars. There's been no war, and the news hasn't reported any emergency. As he panics, an alarm suddenly sounds. He looks up to see several shocking warning messages. Ish doesn't know what terrifying disaster has befallen the world during his 3-week unconsciousness. He's just an ordinary geologist who lives in the deep mountains. That day, Ish went out to collect samples as usual but was accidentally bitten by a venomous snake. He tries to call for help, but the intense pain makes it impossible to hold his phone steady.
No.
With no other choice, he cuts open the wound with a knife and sucks out the venom with his mouth, spitting it out. Even so, his head starts to feel dizzy, clearly indicating that the venom has penetrated his body. Ish, clinging to his last bit of consciousness, staggers home. After half a day's journey, he finally reaches his cabin. By this time, the poison has taken effect, and he collapses onto the bed, falling unconscious. The snake's venom torments Ish, making him wish for death, and his hand swells up like a pig's trotter. In his hazy state, he seems to feel someone continuously knocking on the door, but he can't respond at all. In the middle of the night, the roar of a helicopter and extreme hunger barely wake him up. After wolfing down some food, he falls back asleep. After an unknown period, Ish finally wakes up. Seeing his hand has recovered, he breathes a sigh of relief. Strangely, his hair and beard have grown quite long, and the car outside is covered in dust. But Ish doesn't think much of it and decides to go to a nearby town to buy some food. However, when he reaches his destination, he's stunned. There's not a single pedestrian on the street, and not far away lies a police officer's corpse, apparently dead for a long time. Ish realizes something is wrong and immediately gets in his car, stepping on the gas to rush to his parents' house. On the way, he learns the horrifying truth from the radio broadcast. An unknown virus has suddenly swept the world, not only highly contagious but also deadly. With no effective vaccine, the vast majority of humans have died because of it. Ish nervously pushes open the door, and although he has already guessed the outcome, he still can't come to terms with the cruel reality. After burying his parents, he decides to look for other survivors. He first goes to the church, but it has turned into hell. Corpses in miserable states are everywhere, making one's hair stand on end. Ish doesn't intend to give up. He goes to the mall to collect some supplies and weapons, preparing to head to a larger city. However, halfway there, he finds the road blocked, and the depression he's been suppressing for days finally erupts.
No! Wake up, Ish. Wake the fuck up!
He has no choice but to take a detour and continue. As darkness falls, lights suddenly appear on the horizon ahead. This gives Ish hope again, so he steps on the gas and speeds forward. But to his surprise, although the entire city is lit up, there's still not a single person visible on the streets. Unwilling to give up, Ish enters a building. The casino, which should be bustling with activity, is now dead silent, with no cheers from winners or wails from losers.
Where the fuck is everyone?
Exhausted, Ish finds a luxury hotel and enjoys a comfortable bath. Afterwards, he goes to a bar, intending to numb his chaotic mind with alcohol. However, just as he's halfway through his drink,
Make mine a double. We frightened you.
I apologize for not having
the sudden appearance of survivors makes Ish feel as if he's dreaming. They don't mind Ish's nakedness at all. After all, decency is worthless in the apocalypse. Through conversation, Ish learns that the two of them were here on a business trip when the virus suddenly broke out, turning the entire city into a ghost town in just one day. Strangely, they weren't affected at all. The old man says he has no family left and plans to spend the rest of his life here. When the food runs out, he'll end himself with a gunshot. But Ish doesn't plan to give up. He invites the woman to search for other survivors together. But to his surprise, she refuses to. The woman's husband and son have just died, and she's lost hope in life. Rather than pursuing a vague hope, she'd rather do more enjoyable things while still alive. But Ish is in no mood for sport now. He doesn't want to just wait for death in a daze. However, just as he leaves, 2 gunshots sound from behind. He understands what has happened, but it's too late for regrets now. He vents his emotions like a madman, stepping on the gas pedal to the max, speeding aimlessly down the road. Suddenly, a small dog appears in the middle of the road, instantly bringing Ish back to his senses. No matter how depressed he is, life must go on, and at least now he won't be lonely.
How fucking lucky are you?
He names the dog Lucky and brings it back to the small town where his parents lived. He also takes many books from the library, hoping to find the source of this disaster through research. Gradually, he adapts to this kind of life. However, one day Lucky suddenly starts barking incessantly. Ish walks to the balcony and surprisingly discovers a wisp of smoke rising in the distance. His long-dormant heart starts to stir again.
And what can take root in the space between hope
and everything that is still yet to come.
You'd never guess what the most terrifying creature is after human extinction. The tiny beings you could once crush underfoot are now horrifyingly dangerous. A year after the virus outbreak, Ish sees signs of human life nearby for the first time. He immediately drives there, feeling both nervous and excited.
Stay right where you are.
A woman with a hunting rifle appears on the rooftop. Ish explains he means no harm and has just come to investigate after seeing smoke, having not seen other humans for so long. Emma invites Ish inside. She's only been here a few days herself. She grew up camping and hunting, which has helped her survive the apocalypse. There's meat, bread, and even tea available. Ish remarks that he's been living on canned food and fish he catches. Emma had planned to live out her days in solitude, but Ish's appearance excites her. At his enthusiastic invitation, she decides to move in with him. Emma first checks the yard's soil and fencing, planning to build a small farm. Her arrival dispels the gloom in Ish's heart, and he quietly cuts the rope he had intended to end his life with. While cleaning the storage room, Emma discovers traces of mice, but they don't yet realize the gravity of the situation or notice the rodent infestation in town. They visit the supermarket, where Ish collects food and tools while Emma gathers fertilizer and seeds. In the following days, they live harmoniously. Ish fishes and makes farm tools, while Emma forages. Soon, they're growing vegetables in the yard. As life becomes richer, their relationship grows intimate. Like Adam and Eve, they naturally come together. Emma actually had a happy family before. Each night, she looks at their photos while Ish sleeps, easing her longing. As if God heard her prayers, she soon becomes pregnant. Emma excitedly tells Ish, but he's worried rather than thrilled. There are no hospitals or doctors here. He doesn't know how to welcome a new life or if the baby can resist the virus. Emma reveals it's her third pregnancy, so she has some experience, and she doesn't want to give up this gift from heaven. Ish immediately goes to the library for books on childbirth and collects baby supplies. 4 months pass, their small farm takes shape, and Emma's belly grows large. Vegetables and eggs no longer meet her nutritional needs, so Ish must hunt. He finds cows at a nearby ranch, but is clumsy and comical due to his lack of hunting experience. Ish hesitates to shoot a living creature for the first time, but has no choice for Emma's sake.
Sorry.
His next challenge is butchering. He can only learn from books as he works. First, he props up the cow's legs with branches, next cuts open its abdomen, then saws through the ribs and removes the organs. The slimy texture and bloody smell nearly break Ish. Unable to eat all the beef quickly, food storage and preservation become new concerns. Fortunately, they have solar panels among their supplies. After a day of charging, they regain electricity. With the refrigerator running, they no longer need to forage daily. But before they can celebrate, new troubles arise. As they ponder why there are suddenly more mice in the house, Lucky starts barking anxiously outside. Ish and Emma check out the door and are stunned by the sight. Thousands of rats swarm from all directions in the night. Ish realizes they're attracted by the beef's bloody smell and promptly burns the meat with other kitchen waste. Emma uses her shotgun to kill approaching rats, but it's barely effective. Suddenly, they hear a noise from a nearby truck. The next moment, the flood of rats makes their skin crawl. They run back inside and quickly seal all doors and windows with tape. Just as they catch their breath, they hear Lucky's agonized yelp, realizing they've left him outside. Ish quickly tears off the tape and opens the door to rescue Lucky. Despite his speed, some rats slip in. Finding shooting rats inefficient, Ish opts for a simpler, more brutal method. Fortunately, Lucky's injuries aren't severe, and Emma quickly treats his wounds. After this ordeal, Ish begins to worry about the uncertain future, fearing the loss of their current life and, more importantly, Emma. Sometimes one must acknowledge nature's wonders. As rats overrun the area, the number of wildcats also increases. Just as Ish is surprised by the rat's disappearance, Emma announces exciting news behind him.
It's good the rats are gone. Someone else is coming.
Emma's time to give birth has come. Initially, all goes well, but Emma gradually feels the baby might be in the wrong position. Ish panics, recalling burying his parents 2 years ago and sensing death's presence again. Emma's painful groans bring him back to reality and help him regain composure. Following her guidance, Ish tries to correct the baby's position. With a loud cry, the first human baby of the post-apocalyptic world is born. Emma names their daughter Heather, after Ish's mother. The new life brings hope that humanity might flourish again. Emma leaves directions for other survivors on a street wall. Will the new member bring them hope or disaster and misfortune?
Joy!
It's the 6th year since the collapse of human civilization. Humans are no longer at the top of the food chain but have become prey. One day, while out scavenging for supplies, Ish collides with something. He gets out of his car to investigate and finds a dying mountain lion. Seeing its suffering, Ish pulls out his gun, but suddenly hears a noise from the nearby woods. A little girl with a backpack is watching him warily. Ish immediately gives chase, while the girl runs away desperately. Seeing Ish approach, the girl screams in terror.
Stop! Hey! Hey!
Ish quickly raises his hands to show he means no harm, explaining he only took out the gun to put the dying mountain lion out of its misery. He asks about the girl's parents, but she's too nervous to speak. Noticing how thin she is, Ish tells her he has apples in his car. The girl remains cautious, screaming whenever Ish gets close. Ish says he'll return to his car and wait for a while, offering her food and shelter if she wants to come with him. When Ish returns to his car, he finds the injured mountain lion gone, possibly dragged away by other animals. After waiting for a few minutes, just as Ish thinks the girl has left, she slowly emerges from the woods. Ish tosses her an apple. The tasty food finally lowers her guard, and she climbs into the truck bed, choosing to go with Ish. Back at home, the girl is terrified of the unfamiliar environment and refuses to leave the truck bed. Ish doesn't force the girl out, but brings the fruit inside. At this time, Emma has already had 2 children with Ish and is now pregnant with their third. Jorge and his wife Maureen also live with Ish's family, having arrived 2 years ago after seeing Emma's directions on a wall. Ish suspects the girl might have PTSD or other issues and thinks it's best not to upset her for now. When Maureen goes to comfort the girl in the truck, she notices many burn scars on her arms, suggesting cruel abuse. Maureen shows her own childhood scars, explaining she understands what the girl is going through. While the girl is bathing, Maureen opens her backpack and finds a notebook filled with disturbing, eerie drawings. Meanwhile, Ish and Jorge explore the woods where they found the girl. They discover a cabin with signs of the girl's presence and some terrifying torture devices. That evening, Maureen reads a letter found in the girl's backpack, written by her mother. The girl's name is Evie. After the apocalypse, Evie's father took out his anger on his wife and daughter, constantly torturing them. Evie's mother, writing the letter while terminally ill, could no longer protect Evie and hoped whoever found the letter would take care of her. Months later, Ish and Emma's third child is born, named Joey. One day, the alarm system Ish set up outside is triggered. Awakened, Ish immediately tells Maureen to hide with the children while he, Emma, and Jorge grab weapons and head to the backyard, suspecting Evie's family might have found them. Emma spots a fleeing figure in the woods and is about to aim her gun when a woman emerges, also armed. She's followed by 2 companions. The man explains they're only trying to protect their child and mean no harm. A little boy runs out of the woods, confirming their story. Emma invites them inside. The woman introduces herself as Molly, a doctor. Jean is a somewhat famous singer, and Ezra is her husband and manager. The boy is their son, Rafe.
Shoot out the sun. Oh, I loved your music.
Yeah, thanks. I had a ride, made a few records. Seems kind of absurd now.
Molly met Ezra's family in Oregon before a plague outbreak forced them to flee. Ish remains cautious of these strangers, but kind-hearted Emma invites them to stay in the neighboring house. With 4 more people, their food and supplies are insufficient. The 6 adults, except for pregnant Emma, pair up to scavenge in town. Ish warns everyone to stay together and alert others if danger arises.
There's like 30 different kinds of animals that would love to make you dinner. Try to make them dinner first.
I'll make you dinner.
As they enter town, a buffalo blocks their car, forcing them to proceed on foot, while Ish and Ezra search for canned food in a supermarket. Molly separates from Jean and heads to the hospital. As a doctor, she understands medical supplies are as crucial as food in their situation. The hospital wards are filled with decomposed bodies. Molly doesn't find much until she encounters a wild dog, which she drives away with a fire extinguisher. She then discovers a locked door, breaks it open with the extinguisher, and finds a large cache of medicines. Ish is displeased when he learns Molly broke the rules by going off alone, but he's surprised by the amount of medicine she brings back. Molly explains that hospitals usually have 2 backup pharmacies known only to staff, to prevent addicts from robbing them. She feels her risk was worthwhile. They manage to return home before dark. Ezra finds a guitar for Jean, and they have a bonfire party. Jean's beautiful singing dispels their unease and fatigue. Ish gradually realizes his understanding of survival has been stubborn and biased, so he decides to try accepting more people to build a thriving survivor community. Time flies, and both the Ezras and Jorges have children, making their lives increasingly lively. Even the once reclusive Evie integrates into this big family. As the children grow, Ish starts taking them to the library to learn. After all, human revival depends not only on the continuation of life but also on the inheritance of civilization. However, their life isn't entirely smooth. During a storm, Ish's beloved dog Lucky is killed by a falling tree. This saddens Ish for a long time, as Lucky had been his companion since the outbreak of the apocalypse, and he viewed him as family. One day, while Ish is out clearing his mind, he suddenly notices a mountain lion in the nearby bushes. Watching Joey at play, Ish rushes to protect his son but is knocked down by the mountain lion. Clearly, he's no match for an adult mountain lion. Soon, Ish's body is covered in horrific bite wounds, and he's more terrified than he's ever been since the apocalypse. As the mountain lion drags Ish towards the woods, Evie, who has been unable to speak until now, finally utters her first words. It's now the 14th year after the virus outbreak. With no hospitals and scarce medicine, the only doctor is a student who was expelled from medical school. Under such dire conditions, Ish manages to survive through sheer will to live. Ish's wife, Emma, comes to the backyard with a gun, extremely angry and determined to make the mountain lion pay blood for blood. Following the blood trail on the ground, Emma quickly finds her target. Without hesitation, she pulls the trigger. Molly confesses to Ish that she lied. She's not a doctor but only attended medical school for a year before dropping out. It's not until she faces a dying Ish that she feels the weight of this lie.
I knew me and my lie couldn't sew you back together.
But you did. You finally caught up to the lie.
During Ish's recovery, his children take on their respective responsibilities. The eldest son, Alex, stands guard daily to protect the community's safety, while the younger son, Joey, begins fishing for edible seafood at the seaside. As for Heather, who's experiencing her first love, she starts dating Rafe. They've all reached the age where they long for freedom and yearn to see the outside world. Although Ish is worried about their unknown journey, he understands that his children have grown up and shouldn't be confined to this small yard anymore. On the day of departure, Ish repeatedly instructs Heather to return immediately if she encounters danger. Emma gives Heather the rifle she's always used for self-defense. Rafe's parents also give their blessings to their soon-to-be traveling son. The two families bid farewell to the young couple together, expecting them to return by winter. As time passes, the world, without human maintenance, becomes increasingly dilapidated, and new crises gradually approach the survivors. One day, Evie, preparing to cook, finds no water coming from the faucet, and a bad feeling washes over her. This is the first water outage in 17 years since the apocalypse. Ish immediately goes to check the upstream dam, where he finds the rivers have indeed dried up. Evidently, they're facing an extreme drought. Moreover, the water pipes have cracked due to corrosion, forcing them to find alternative water sources. Suddenly, the sound of car engines comes from above, and several cars drive over the dam. Joey excitedly wants to call out and greet them, but Ish stops him. In this environment devoid of law and order, recklessly approaching strangers is extremely dangerous. Upon returning home, Ish takes up arms and gathers everyone to enter a state of alert. He's unsure whether the approaching people have malicious intentions, so they must prepare for the worst. The leader, a man named Charlie, says he saw Ish's car at the dam earlier and guessed they must be facing water issues.
The earth cries in a drought, but it laughs in flowers.
Emerson.
A well-read man.
Good book, never hurt anybody.
Nah, listen. Fell off a shelf and hit him in the head.
He mentions they have well drilling equipment in their vehicles that might help the people here. Emma invites Charlie and his companions into the yard, learning they've been wandering, looking for a suitable place to settle. Ish remains silent, uncomfortable with Charlie's presence. To show sincerity, Charlie quickly begins drilling. Ish remains vigilant, constantly observing from the side. Charlie methodically leads his companions in the well drilling work, and everything seems harmonious. As they interact more, Ish discovers that Charlie's style and philosophy are aggressive, with a strong desire for conquest.
Fuck! I got lots of practice. Not just on deer.
Charlie believes that to survive, one must become strong and devour the weak. This starkly contrasts with Ish's long-held belief in peaceful coexistence. Noticing Charlie's strange looks towards Evie, Ish becomes wary. This man is more troublesome than he imagined. The next day, the well drilling work continues. Charlie's personal charm makes him popular with everyone. Unlike the quiet and reserved Ish, Charlie's words and actions exude leadership qualities. Even Alex, against Ish's objections, insists on joining Charlie's team to help with the drilling. Charlie becomes the center of attention, with everyone following his commands and being influenced by his emotions. Ish stands dejectedly in a corner, lost in thought, feeling a bit jealous but more uneasy. Soon after, clear groundwater gushes from the borehole, and everyone cheers spontaneously. Charlie stands at the center of the crowd, like an emperor delivering a victory speech. Ish expresses gratitude to Charlie and promises to pay him the required gasoline as agreed.
I remember shaking on it. Maybe I like this place a little more than I admitted.
Charlie finally reveals his fangs, clearly seeing himself as the master of this place. Ish leaves with a grim expression, while a cold glint flashes in Charlie's eyes. Late at night, a troubled Ish stands on the balcony lost in thought when he suddenly hears a girl scream. He sees Charlie walking out of Evie's room, pulling up his pants.
Charlie, what the fuck?
Good old Ish. Smarter than he looks.
Sensing trouble, Ish hurries downstairs to check and discovers that Charlie has raped Evie. Ish immediately gathers all family members to discuss how to handle this situation. Some suggest banishing Charlie, while others propose establishing a prison. Emma, however, boldly voices the correct answer that everyone knows but dares not say.
We have to kill him.
They all understand Charlie deserves death, but once they kill someone, the order and trust they've built over time will face a severe test. Ish warns everyone that Charlie is a predator, wandering around in search of fresh prey. After a vote, they decide to eliminate Charlie, the troublemaker.
This is madness.
God damn it, Jorge. He is waiting for us to roll over into our graves.
We need to dig one for him first.
However, Charlie looks at Ish with disdain when he comes to confront him. He believes he's in control of everything and doesn't take Ish seriously.
Ish and his fucking toy hammer. I fucked your trophy retard. Now daddy's gonna make me pay. Is that it?
Charlie even taunts Ish, saying he'll take his wife and raise his children, but his smirk doesn't last long. Ish has managed this community for 17 years, and the trust people have in him isn't something Charlie can gain just by drilling a well. Ish sends this villain to hell with a hammer, but he himself descends into madness. Ish returns to the bathroom, continuously scrubbing his blood-stained hands and hammer. This is his first time killing someone, and he's struggling to cope psychologically. Even knowing the result would be this painful, he still voluntarily shouldered this sin for everyone. This is why he's trusted by everyone here, and why Charlie failed. The next day, Charlie's wife seems calm upon learning of his death. She's witnessed Charlie's evil deeds all along and knew this day would come. But not everyone can accept Charlie's death so easily. Silas is the first to question it, even attempting to draw his weapon in rebellion. He's Charlie's loyal dog who stood guard while Charlie committed his crime last night. However, with several guns pointed at him, he becomes more compliant.
The man doesn't just up and leave. Charlie's plans never change.
We changed them.
Corey, another of Charlie's confidants, immediately states that Charlie got what he deserved, and he and his family are willing to stay and work here.
Fucking cowards.
In the end, only Silas leaves, disgruntled. Yet, he returns shortly after, begging Ish to take him in as he has nowhere else to go and doesn't know how to survive. But Ish can't forgive him for assisting Charlie in assaulting Evie last night. Even when Silas voluntarily surrenders his weapons, Ish remains unmoved.
I'll need this out there.
Although the bad guys are gone, the negative impact they've caused can't be erased. Alex, who greatly admired Charlie, expresses dissatisfaction with Ish's actions, creating a rift between father and son. Time flies, and it's now the 20th year after the virus outbreak. The survivor community has become increasingly prosperous, with water and electricity, abundant life, like a utopia. Knowledge and science are also being passed down here. Ish proudly announces to everyone that his younger son, Joey, has built a solar-powered airplane. Humans can finally return to the skies, and the revival of civilization seems imminent. But Alex, sitting in the corner, feels lost, as his father's attention has always been on Joey, making him feel like an outsider. At night, Joey suddenly develops a high fever and even faints. Ish immediately goes to the infirmary to seek Molly's help, but there are already 2 other patients with fevers. Molly gravely says their symptoms are very similar to the apocalyptic epidemic from 20 years ago, and antiviral drugs are ineffective. Ish understands the severity of the situation and stays by Joey's side all night, wiping his sweat to reduce the fever. Seeing Ish emerge from Joey's room after a sleepless night, Alex feels even more imbalanced, further convinced that his father favors his brother. But Ish has no time to comfort his eldest son now. He must find effective medicine before the epidemic spreads. He has to race against death, perhaps as punishment for his act of killing.
I killed a man, a bad man, and now it seems a life is demanded in return.
Ish crosses the previously sealed bridge, risking danger to explore an area they've never ventured into before. Entering the city, Ish finds a hospital. He smashes the medicine cabinet, searching for drugs as instructed by Molly. Charlie's phantom appears before him again, having become an inescapable nightmare. After collecting the medicines, Ish goes to the confessional to beg God for forgiveness.
Don't take our children. Take me. Without them, there will be no one left to carry on.
Ish admits he has committed a sin, and now his best way to atone is to bring the medicines back to save more people. After saying goodbye to their families, Heather and Rafe set out on a journey to find other survivors. However, after exploring one town after another, they don't encounter a single living person. Just as they're about to give up, they suddenly see numbers and arrows spray painted on a wall. Although they don't know what it means, they follow the guidance. Along the way, Heather excitedly discovers a Pacific yew tree, said to have high medicinal value and capable of treating various diseases. Heather immediately goes to the tent to find tools, intending to take the plant with them. Suddenly, a disheveled man holds a knife to Rafe's throat, demanding they hand over all their food. Rafe struggles to resist, but is stabbed by the man. Seeing her boyfriend lying in a pool of blood, Heather is enraged. In this world without hospitals and medical care, Rafe, having lost too much blood, can only face death. Heather sorrowfully buries him by the sea and then sets out on her journey home. Her car runs out of fuel along the way, and she ultimately walks back to the survivor community on foot. What was planned as a 6-month journey ends up taking 6 years. However, the survivor community is now facing a crisis. The virus that triggered the apocalypse 20 years ago has reappeared, and many people are infected. To save his younger son Joey, Ish risks venturing into unexplored areas to retrieve some medicine, but it has little effect. The yew tree Heather brings back offers hope, as Molly uses it to make medicine that cures many patients. However, Joey's symptoms still don't improve. As his temperature continues to rise, Ish desperately puts him in a bathtub filled with cold water. At this point, Ish can do nothing but pray. Upon learning of Rafe's death, Corey asks Heather about the killer's appearance. Heather recalls that the man was disheveled and his face unclear, but she remembers he had a golden tattoo on his arm. Corey realizes the killer is Silas, whom Ish had driven away. What a twist of fate. Joey's condition ultimately doesn't improve, and he passes away under his parents' sorrowful gaze. Everyone holds a funeral for those who died in this epidemic. Ish hysterically rushes out of the community, frantically erasing the guiding slogans on the walls, blaming outsiders for bringing the virus. The library was once the place he and Joey visited most often. He had placed all his hopes for reviving human civilization on Joey. As Ish prepares to burn all the books, Emma stops him. She persuades him not to dwell on the past.
It was gone way before Joey. You wanted him to reignite the old world, but no one can do that. We have other living children. Our friends have children.
Ish understands his wife is right. He's been fixated not only on his son's death, but also on the shattered hope of reviving civilization. But he's overlooked that the civilization he longs for is old. Now people should integrate into the current natural environment to create a new civilization. The Earth is constantly growing and evolving, and humans should keep pace with it. Ish no longer lectures the children about the past, which, although prosperous, was also accompanied by pollution and war. Now they have blue skies, clean air and water, and healthy food. Why obsess over the old world?
You don't need me as a teacher. Out there, that's your greatest teacher. If we can live in harmony with this earth, then maybe it will teach us how to live in harmony with each other.
A year later, while sorting through Joey's belongings, Ish discovers a notebook. He learns that Joey had been researching radio communication and had drawn blueprints for making a radio station. Joey believed that humans weren't meant to live alone. He hoped to find more survivors to rebuild humanity's home together. Ish is overwhelmed with emotions, realizing Joey's vision and foresight had long surpassed his own. He immediately gathers everyone and begins building the radio station that represents hope. Following Joey's blueprints, everyone is excited, having been confined to this small piece of land for too long, yearning to hear voices from the outside world. After setting up the antenna, Ish starts trying each frequency one by one.
CQ, CQ, CQ.
This is San Lupo, do you read me? CQ, this is San Lupo. Is anyone out there?
His voice is broadcast worldwide through the radio, but there's no response. Ish doesn't get discouraged. He keeps recording and trying the next frequency. Seeing him neglecting sleep and food, Emma invites him to play baseball. Their extended family has unknowingly prospered to the point where they can hold a baseball game. Everyone's face is beaming with relaxed, happy smiles. This stress-free, carefree life is something Ish couldn't have imagined before the apocalypse. Heather is puzzled by the many numerical statistics in this game. Suddenly, she remembers a string of numbers.
147225.
What's that?
Numbers is something Rafe and I saw out there. We saw it everywhere. We followed it for months, but didn't know what it meant.
Ish's eyes light up, and he quickly runs back to the house, eagerly tuning the radio to frequency 147.225. Ish calls out several times, but receives no response. The air seems to freeze, and everyone falls into an anxious wait.
This is 147225. You found us.
The voice from the radio sounds like heavenly music, and everyone is excited. The woman on the radio says they have 77 survivors settled in a park by the sea, less than 100 miles from Ish's location. When she asks if Ish and his group would like to meet with them, everyone suddenly falls silent. The psychological shadow left by Charlie still exists, and contact with strange groups is a difficult decision for them. The woman on the radio understands the meaning of their silence. She says that when they first started using the radio to contact the outside world, many people were worried and opposed, but they ultimately persisted.
Why did you?
Something kept telling us. We had to.
We have to. We have to.
Yes.
For humanity to continue and revive, they must unite and help each other, as has been the case throughout history. Even if there are risks, only by trying is there a possibility. 50 years after the virus outbreak, Ish is now an elderly man. He passes the hammer, symbolizing leadership, to his grandson, along with the task of continuing and reviving humanity to the next generation.
Men go and come, but the earth abides.